With society's endless expectations upon you and mental health and anxiety issues on the rise, finding your true authentic self can be challenging. Being your true self is a key and never a mistake because you are not a mistake. You are you, unapologetically. Join Dr. Kim R. Grimes as she creates a safe space and initiates influential conversations about you being you. Listen to discussions featuring step-by-step guides, techniques, and principles that you can sink your teeth into about uncovering your greatness, triggering a mindset shift, and living beyond your limiting beliefs. The time to connect with who you were created to be and fall madly, did I say madly, in love with you starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Kim R. Grimes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Yay You. You are you unapologetically. Yay! So it is always an honor, always the honor to have you join us, to have you listen, to have your support. I am so grateful for each and every one of you because you take the time to listen and watch the podcast. I love you all for it. I do. Boy, do we have a phenomenal surprise for you today. Let me just get the ball rolling, right? So in the last episode, I introduced our new topic for the next upcoming 5 or 6, who knows, right? 5 or 6 episodes. So let's just jump right in. Every day or every week in the news, or you may read it in the news feed, there is somebody who was found out. This person has a secret, right? They had something going on in the background of their life and nobody knew, but now everybody knows it. It's been discovered that they've been living a double life. They've been lying to the people that depend on them, lying to their families, lying to their friends, lying to their colleagues, lying to their coworkers, and lying to the people in their community. And now they've been found out. They've been uncovered, busted, because they were harboring and living with a secret. How could they do such a thing, right? Wait, how could they live with themselves? Might one ask, or would that be the question? How could they carry on for so long, keeping up the charade? Can you see them showing up for dinner and acting as if and acting normal, as if nothing happened, looking at their spouse in the eye and their children in their face? How could they betray their friends, family, and community, knowing one day it may become public knowledge, and once it does, it's going to destroy everything. It's going to destroy their family. It's going to destroy relationships. It's going to undermine their career and undermine their life. So how do they live with themselves? That's the question. Well, the reason it is so difficult to imagine how could they live with themselves is we put ourselves in their situation and we think, I couldn't live with myself, or I couldn't do what they did and live with myself. We tell ourselves, my integrity wouldn't allow me to do such a thing and live with myself. But here's the truth. You can live with yourself. I can live with myself. Yes, think about it. If my current self is left unattended, my current inner self is neglected, if my current inner being does not see a better future for myself, I could live with myself. In fact, my current self will live with myself in spite of the unhealthy version I have become. Let me get to the point where my external self, you know that side where people see that external self, when it is so far away from what I truly am on the inside, it is easy. It is so easy for me to think that it can't happen to me. Like, I can't be exposed. And it's easy for you to think the same thing. Oh no, right? It can't happen. That's not going to happen. See, that's the thing. As people, we think that it can't happen to us. It can't happen to them. But believe it or not, that is why it happens. Because we don't think that it will happen. So in our new series, we are talking about how you guard your inner self. How to guard your inner self, your true being, so you can live with yourself. This series is all about you living with you living with yourself. How can you? How can you live with yourself? That's the question. That's the topic of this episode. So allow me to share a scriptural reference because you all know I'm a Jesus follower. And so I'm coming out of the book of Proverbs, which is 4:23, and it says, we should guard our heart with all diligence because out of it flows the issue of life. So this scripture implies that whatever we're allowed to enter into our hearts, and I'm pointing here in our hearts, but in actuality, this is our heart, our mind, that's where things come in. If it's not examined and evaluated properly, we will undoubtedly be expressed. It will undoubtedly be expressed in our lives and our actions in positive and negative ways. So James Allen, he is the author of a book called As a Man Thinketh. This title is also influenced by a proverb that was pulled from the Bible. It's chapter 23, verse 7. It says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So this book I read, it was a really good book. It was short and easy. It was an easy read. And so I want to share a quote. From this book. And it says, the more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good. Calmness of the mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. Circumstance does not make the man. It reveals him to himself. See, I like that quote because of what we're about to jump into. So in this new series, we are interchanging the heart, right? When I say the heart, we're talking about your inner self. When we're saying the mind, we're talking about your inner being, your inner self. Life is, and it's not always kind. We all know that you don't have to live very long for life to be hard, right? On us or on our souls. And even when I say soul, I'm talking about your interior life, your inner being. That's what I'm talking about. That inside part of you, that fear, right? It fears, it worries, it hopes, it dreams, it wishes, it experiences disappointments. It has failures, all while putting on a smile, right? Making your face happy. So let me ask you, who do people get when they get you? Who do people get? Who do people get when you show up? When you show up in the room, when you show up at work, when you show up at school? Who do people get when you're hanging out with your friends, interacting with your loved ones, spending time with your partner or your spouse? Who do they get? Who do your children get when you show up? Who do they get? Are you one way with a group of people and then you're another person with another group of people? Is your person on the outside completely different than the person on the inside? Here's the thing. Whether it's appearance or our performance or our reputation, we attend to those outward things. Right? Those outward things about us. We pay attention to those things so much faster than we do our inner things. Why? Here's why. Because we know people are watching us. People are expecting from us. And we're competing for approval. We're competing for acceptance. We're competing for attention and progress. It's natural. It's a natural thing to pay attention to our exterior person. We all have a public life that is on display every single day. But there is only one person who can be attentive to your soul. Only one person who can be attentive to your heart. Only one person who can be attentive to your inner being. There's only one person that can do that. So my question is this: how can you live with yourself? How? What habits do you have that will ensure that the self you're living with, the self you're living with is the self that's on display? What convictions, what values, what beliefs do you have that will ensure that what people see on the outside is what they're actually getting when they get you? Here is a fact. Even if your inner being, my inner being, our inner being is healthy, even when our inner being is healthy inner beings, even super healthy inner beings, right? If it's left unattended, it can become unhealthy. Again, if it's left unattended, it can become unhealthy. So super unhealthy, clearly, nothing gets better when left unattended. Nothing. So the health of your inner being determines your capacity, your ability to live with a version of you, a version of yourself that you don't really like, a version of yourself you never desired to be. The health of your inner being determines how wide the gap is between who you really are and who you pretend to be. See, it determines how far the gap can expand before you finally crack or confess or break down or be found out. The health of our inner being, the health of your heart, your inner being, your soul has very little tolerance for lack of integrity. The health of it does. Very little tolerance. A healthy heart realizes that what's going on the inside is not reflected on the outside, and what's reflected on the outside is showing up better than what's on the inside. When that happens, then the healthy inner self says, I got some work to do. You got to get it in check, because the healthy inner self is one, right? Their integrity, my integrity, your integrity on the inside and the outside are in sync. At least it should be, right? The health of your inner being, your inner self, determines how far things can go before your conscience just won't let you pretend anymore. The health of your soul determines how willing you are to lie to other people, how willing you are, and how easy it is for you to lie to yourself. See, we were talking about that on our last topic, right? About telling your truth and not lying to yourself. When you're no longer the self you used to be, when you're no longer the self you want to be, no, when you're no longer the self you always thought you would be, the true you that people can see, you are truly neglecting the health of your inner self. Neglect the health of your inner being, and it will ultimately come back to haunt you. It will hurt you, and more specifically, it will hurt the people who are most important to you. So don't fool yourself, because, I'm not going to fool myself, right? I know I have the potential. You have the potential. We all have the potential to become someone we would despise if our inner beings are left unattended. We could become that unimaginable. You could be that unthinkable and live with yourself, because People do it all the time. It happens all the time. And I told you why, because we think it ain't going to happen to me or it'll never happen to me. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. The difference between those who avoid becoming the unimaginable and doing the unthinkable is the health of their inner being, the health of their heart, the health of their soul. They have the willingness and the ability to pay attention, to pay close attention to what's going on the inside of them. Now, let me ask you, do you pay attention? Do you? If not, how can you live with yourself? See, we're discussing, like I said, the new topic, and my guest, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. My guest is the first person to dive into this topic with me. Like I said, how can you live with yourself? That's the question. How can you? That's what I want you guys to think. And you all know, instead of us having a variety of topics with a variety of guests, we'll pick a topic and we invite a diverse people to come and talk about the topics. Why? Because we want different perspectives from our diverse listeners. So before we dive into the conversation, I must introduce you to our phenomenal guest. When I say phenomenal, I mean phenomenal. I have to introduce you to our phenomenal guest. Our guest is a marketing professor, consultant, author, coach, ultra triathlete, and ultra runner. Wait, I'm not done. He earned his bachelor degree in marketing from the University of New Mexico. His master degree is in marketing from the University of Alabama. And he completed his PhD marketing coursework at Texas Tech University. I'm talking phenomenal. Stay with me. Intertwined with his education, he gained over 15 years of experience as an executive and consultant for numerous companies and organizations around the world. Come on now. He has been a business professor since 2008, instructing over 100 undergraduates and graduates online and on campus business courses. In addition, he is a full-time marketing consultant and executive coach, helping hundreds of clients and students to optimize their lives, careers, and businesses. Finally, he is a USA track and field certified coach, 3-time Xterra trail running world champion, a world duathlon, think I might have chopped that up, but duathlon, bronze medalist. Just because I chopped it up, I want to take it from him. Like, that's what he is. A 3-time Western State 100-mile finisher, 27-time Ironman finisher, including Kona, 18-time via the Kona 5 and Epic 5 ultra triathlon, and former NCAA nationally ranked distance runner. Most importantly, he is passionate about learning and sharing knowledge to help others to be successful and achieve their goals. I told you, he is phenomenal. He is really beyond bad. Like, Michael Jackson used to say, I'm bad. No, he is beyond bad. So please help me to welcome Professor Keith Rieger, PhD, to Yay You. You are you unapologetically. Yay! Welcome, Keith. Welcome.
All right.
Yay!
Thanks so much for the very kind intro and a warm welcome. And thank you, Kim, for having me on your show. And also, too, thank you for all you do for the community and helping so many people with your podcasts and just all the things you do to bring sunshine into the world. So I'm glad to be part of it. And anything I can do to help you, I'm glad. And so thank you. I'm excited to dive into this topic with you.
Yay, yay. And I too, and I'm so excited that you said yes to be on the podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am honored to know you. I'm honored to, even though we're not physically in each other's presence, but in your presence, I'm honored. So let's jump in, Keith. Please, before we really get into the details of of our conversation, please share with our listeners how we met.
Sure. Yeah, let's think we've known each other now for a few years, and Kim, like me, is pretty adventurous and likes to see the world. And so we ended up bumping into each other on a cruise, and immediately we hit it off. We're like, wow, she's got a lot of energy. She's a positive person. She's trying to really be kind and good to all the people on the ship, and something I try to do too. So we immediately had a great conversation and learned a lot about each other's backgrounds, figured out we actually had quite a bit in common. And so, yeah, we just stayed friends ever since. And I think, too, we're in sync with our careers, and that you're sharing, you love to learn, you love to share knowledge and help others. And so that's what I do, too. So you and I have been supportive of each other ever since.
Absolutely. And he hit the nail on the head, right? Like exactly. We met in the gym, right? Because you heard his bio, right? So why would he go on a cruise and not be in the gym, right? And right. You guys, y'all already know Lionel and I, we tend to visit the gym on a ongoing basis as well. So it was such a wonderful time to meet him as well. And I want you to know, Raul, I keep in contact with Raul as well, because you were there talking to Raul, who was over the gym, right, on the ship. I keep in contact with him as well. I'll be sure to let him know that I connected with you, that you did my podcast, that is. So let's just jump into the conversation, right? You know that you are you unapologetically. We're about helping people to be themselves, right? Be you unapologetically. We owe no one an apology for being ourselves. Be who God created you to be. And that's what You Are You is all about. And I abbreviate it as Yay You, right? And I, really after I wrote it out, and it was a couple of episodes in, then when I wrote it down, I was like, oh, that says Yay You. I like that. So please share with our audience, what does it mean to you to be you unapologetically?
Sure. Yeah, that's the thing. I agree with a lot of what you were saying in the intro about people putting on these facades and trying to impress others, especially in this day and age with social media and everything, is that, for me, when I was younger, is that I didn't grow up in a Christian home or anything. My parents were very successful in their own right and kind of expected the same of me. And so I kind of lived to try to get their approval. And of course, the world around me, their approval too. So whether that was getting good grades or being the best player on my hockey team or whatever, is that I was looking to get other people's approval. Fortunately, is that somebody very God-loving, kind, shared the gospel with me when I was about 17. I finally realized that, you know what, God actually brought me here for a reason. God loves me. God approves of me. He realizes I'm not perfect. And that's really the only approval I need is from God, not from anybody else. And the reality is you never really will get the approval of others, and it's very conditional. Whereas with God, it is always going to be there. And knowing too that someday that we're ultimately going to be in heaven with him for eternity. And so that kind of really freed me up to stop worrying about what other people thought of me. Being somewhat of a perfectionist, I was always, the only way I would do something is that if I was going to be the best at it. So that really limited me and put a lot of anxiety and pressure on myself. But once I realized, you know what, God loves me the way I am, accepts me the way I am, just make the most of the talents and opportunities he's given me and leave the results up to him. it's amazing what came into my life from that. So that's kind of the way I've learned to accept me as me or you as you.
Wow. No, that was good. Like, with our gifts and our talents and being able to share them. But like you hit the nail on the head. Once you recognize and got that, you know what? God loves me. And nothing else matters. That right there was the ticket. Likewise for me, that was the ticket. That was the key. And it was like, I don't have to try to please anyone. I don't have to wait for their approval because I'm already approved. God already approves of me. He loves me. And when he sees me, he doesn't see all my faults. He sees who he sent for me, his son, right? And I'm like, yay. So thank you for that. Let me ask you, are you happy with living with yourself, right? Or are you still working on becoming the person that you can live with?
Yeah, I would say that that's also too something where I lean on my faith with, in that each day my goal is just obey God, leave the results up to him. And I'm going to do the best I can with the opportunities he gives me, the people who brings into my life.
Right.
And whatever that is, that's it. And so I feel like I can live with myself, is that knowing at the end of the day, did I do the best I could? Is that, yeah, you're not going to be perfect. And one thing too, I've learned, especially being a professor, being a coach, and doing a lot of volunteer work, it's amazing. Even though you're trying to help so many people, you're spreading hopefully so much good in the world. Yeah. I've learned you can't please everybody. It just doesn't matter. And so all good intentions in the world, there's still going to be somebody that's like, yeah, I wanted it this way. Okay.
Right.
99 people wanted it this way. Sorry, we couldn't please you too. So just realize and do the best you can. Try to help as many people as you can. Realize you can't make everybody happy. And at the end of the day, as long as you're doing it for God, doing it for others, I feel like I can live with myself.
Absolutely. And that's on point. And then I like when you said at the end of the day, my thought is like, at the end of the day, like, so I think like this, like every day I get to choose. I choose the direction I want to go, right? Like we make decisions all day long. And so for me, it's like, what do I choose, right? Love, joy, peace, kindness, all of those things, gentleness. But I get to choose. And then, but at the end of the day, if whatever I chose did not, serve me, did not turn out well, there's always grace, right? And so because I know that there's grace, then I can rest. All right. I'm not taking it, worrying about it. So I really, really appreciate that. So let me ask you, are have there been incidents or situations that you can share with our listeners that basically caused you not to want to live with yourself?
Yeah, I think, for me, maybe especially before I became a Christian, that I was pretty focused on myself and the world kind of revolved around me. Say I was in a race or whatever, it was all about me winning and not really thinking too much about others in the events and how they're doing and their own goals and whatsoever, or even the team I was on. It was more about me.
Right.
And so fortunately, is that I learned that, other people do matter. And if anything, nowadays, I care more about them and want to see them be successful more than myself. Those types of situations you fall into. Yeah. And so fortunately, I feel like I've learned for the most part. And even with my running club now, is that our slogan, our cheer that we have is literally "We, not me." And so I'm constantly trying to encourage people, like, quit just thinking about yourself. Realize we're all in this together. Right. And this is an opportunity for you to be kind, considerate, and supportive of others. Right. And so that's kind of what I try to do with my running club, try to do with my life now. And I learned that all because when I was younger, and really, almost shame that that's the way I was. But that's human nature,
Yeah.
and that's pretty common with most people,
Mhm.
especially if they're thinking, I'm only living for 75 years or whatever, so get what I can, and as you said, hit it and move on. Is
Right.
like that's the way most people think, and probably I would think if I didn't think there was a bigger picture out there, that there was a God, that we are going to heaven and so forth.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's kind of what I learned from that.
Awesome. Awesome. And so thank you for that. It plays a role. Like sometimes when I sit back and I think about the person on the outside, right? Of what I used to be, or who, it's to me, it's like it's like it's unrecognizable, right? Like that person, like when I tell people about that person, they're like, oh no, 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 not you. And I'm like, yes, 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 because we can. Like I said, we all have that potential of
Yeah.
doing that. And we can relapse as well if we don't pay attention to our inner being, if we allow our inner being to go unattended, right? And so I know at that time in my life how it impacted the people around me, right? Because like like you said, like I didn't care about them. I didn't care about them at all. And so it impacted those people in a sense where they didn't want to be around me either. And at that time I was okay with it. And so share with us how that unhealthy inner being have impacted the people around you.
Yeah, when people are just focused on themselves and not really being kind and considerate to others, is that I think people can see through that pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And that, like you say, you being you, if the people around them see they can get something out of them, they might
Yep.
tolerate them or
Yes.
deal with them, whatever. But ultimately, are you really going to be long-term friends or,
Right.
true friends with them? And so that's the thing. I think people like that miss out on
Yes.
true, genuine, loving relationships.
Mhm.
And at the end of life, that's kind of the most important thing. And as you and I are getting older, I think that's what we start to realize. It's the loved ones around us that matter and
Yes.
the relationships that we've built. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And then I'm also a firm believer that you kind of reap what you sow, and karma and all that. And
Right.
so, and
Right.
even for myself, I have to say, like, especially when I was younger and some of the decisions I've made or things I've done, is that ultimately I ended up paying for them.
Mm.
And so, yeah, even if you think you're sort of getting away with something, whatever, it ultimately comes back on you. And
Absolutely.
so, so that's why, I think it's very important to get this figured out, get
Mhm.
focused on God, get in tune with His plan for you,
Yes. Yes.
start planting some good seeds so the harvest is
Mhm.
going to be good,
Yes.
and get the weeds out of your life.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that, Keith. I love that. Get the weeds out of your life because we have to maintain that and manage that, right?
Yeah,
As well. No, I love that. So we know that we're speaking to an audience of people. They hear what we're saying, they get it. But some of them don't, right? So what advice would you give someone who's outside, right, is showing up different from their inside? And how can you help them to become healthier on the inside?
sure. Yeah, if somebody does have a facade or going on or whatever, you have to think about, what is their motives? What is going on here? Who
Right.
is it that they're trying to get approval from? And so, so probably the biggest thing I try to tell them is that, you know what, God loves you just the way you are,
Mm.
accepts you the way you are, even though
Mhm.
you're not perfect, whatever, is God loves you. And don't worry about getting approval from others. Just do the
Right.
best you can each and every day with the talents and opportunities He's given you.
Yes.
And then ultimately, that's how you're going to be happiest.
Mhm.
And at the same time, too, is for a lot of people is like, don't be so hard on yourself, is that the world does, constantly put these super high expectations, this keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And me being a marketing professor is that, yeah, that's kind of the marketing industry, is that each company, product, service out there is trying to tell you you're not going to be happy unless you have their product or service, and your life's not complete. And so realize, yeah, there's a lot of those messages out there. And even as we know with social media, is most people are posting all the wonderful things going on in their lives. They only post the best picture of themselves or the best video. You don't see all the other stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So don't be so hard on yourself. Don't think that you have to be perfect like everybody else, and start to realize that we're all not perfect, and that's okay.
Yes. Oh, wow. That was awesome. And what I hear you saying is, give yourself grace, like, because it's so much around, right? And I tell people, I want to believe I'm the first one in line, asking God for grace with my hands open, like, okay, can I have some grace? And so with that, I'm learning and have learned to give myself grace on all my faults, my mistakes, all of that as well, but also give grace to others, you know what I mean, as well. And so with that, if you could share how our listeners can get in contact with you, for those who are interested in learning more about you, especially about the athletic part of you. You love to run. The Army turned me totally against running, but I'm not hating. I'm celebrating you because that's something that you love to do. So please share with our listeners, how can they get in contact with you? And then after that, please give some closing remarks or takeaways that you want those who are listening to this podcast. What do you want them to take away from what what you've already shared, or if you have something else to share, please?
People want to learn more, is my biography is on Amazon, and that is called Kona 5, literally spelled out KONAFIFE or VE. And or you can also find me at KeithRieger.com, KEITHRIEGER.com. And that's the thing, maybe with my book, is that you were super kind and highlighting all the successes of my life. But the reality is, too, I've been through many, many challenges also, and many ups and downs in my life. So a lot of that is in my book, and just the grace that God's given me and so many other people that have helped me and inspired me, encouraged me, like you've done, Kim, for me, is that it takes a lot of others to that have helped me to have the success that I've had. And so it's definitely not me. It's God and many, many others that have helped me along the way. And so that's kind of what I would encourage the takeaway for others, is realize is God loves you. God has a plan for you. You're unique in your talents and opportunities. He put you here for a reason. He has a purpose. And just ask God each and every day, just go, help me to do the best I can. Trust in you to bring things into my life that you want me to bring. And then it's amazing to see, once you do that, all the amazing blessings, things that are going to come into your life. And then at the same time, too, at the end of life, like we talked about with relationships, that's really what matters, is the love and care you've shown towards others and helping them to understand a lot of these keys to success in life, which is what is so amazing about what you do, Kim, is that that's like at the end of life, God's going to say, wow, Kim, you helped so many people. And so realize we all kind of have that responsibility, is as you're blessed and things are coming into your life, look for opportunities to pay it forward. And each and every day is just be kind to others. And it's amazing, just all the little opportunities that are in front of you, if you're looking for it. What you can do, you're going to feel better, but man, you can make a huge difference in somebody's life. You just never know what people are going through each and every day. Everybody's got their SHIT stuff going on.
Yep.
And so you just even smiling at them or saying something kind to them, hey, I love your shoes or I love your dress or whatever. That might be the only nice thing that somebody said to them all week. And who knows, they might be even considering giving up on life, but you just shared a little ray of sunshine in their lives. And who knows what that leads to in their lives, all the good that it could lead to. So that's what I encourage people.
Awesome. You are a phenomenal person. And we are so grateful to have you here as our guest. Thank you so much for saying yes to us, Keith. Professor Keith Rieger. You guys look him up, check him out, tell him hello, give him some feedback on what he shared. You shared so much, and I appreciate the nuggets that you shared with us. And so I'm just honored, like I said, to have you on the podcast. I'm grateful, as well. And so it's always a pleasure to see you, right? And I promise that I will double back so we can connect and play catch up on all the places and all the things that we have done since the last time we saw each other face to face. And with that, I just want to bid a sweet farewell to you. May God bless every step that you take for the rest of your days. I look forward to seeing you again, my friend. Okay.
Okay. Thanks so much, Kim. Keep up the amazing inspiration and great work you're doing for our community.
I promise. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Here's the question that I have for you. How many decisions would you say you are away from totally screwing up your life? How many are you away from totally wrecking your life? That's my question that I want to leave with you. Because it's easy. It is so easy to lose yourself in today's clashing ideas, conflicting beliefs, and the flood of information. With society's rigid expectations and endless opinions, self-expression and self-appreciation can feel challenging and daunting. Most of the time, we tend to push it away. We tend to dumb down. We tend to hide who we really are. And we just go with the flow. I want you to know that you are you. You are you unapologetically. And that means being true to how you were created, being true to who you are, and not allowing people's opinions to affect how you show up in life. That's what I said, to affect how you show up in life. Remember, I asked, who are people getting when they get you, when you show up, right? Do not allow people's opinions to affect how you show up in life. Let people talk. Let them say what they're going to say. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Just let them do it. Because we have no time. You have no time. Life is short. We have no time to be intimidated by the presence of others and think little of ourselves. When you show up without pretense, without hesitation, the world can't dull your glamour. Absolutely not. And most importantly, you will be inspired to shine your light, to share it and help others to tap right into their own brilliance. You have that ability to do that. So put an end to the disparaging mindset and begin to own your authentic self. Join me here with us in a safe space where I will initiate influential conversations about you being you, because you are you unapologetically. And no one, absolutely no one is better at being you than you. Thank you so much, you guys. I'm so glad again for you all to be here. Thanks for checking out our podcast. Thanks for all the support. Please know that we can't do it without you. Until then, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. May this transformational discussion shift your mindset so you can live in possibility, so you can step higher in your greatness and stand bolder in your brilliance. Do not wait another minute. Start now to uncover your greatness and begin to fall madly, did I say madly, in love with you. The journey to unleashing and owning your true self doesn't end here. Be sure to subscribe to the show at kimrgrimes.com. Leave a rating and gear up for more conversations like this one. See you on the next episode. And remember, you are not a mistake. You are you, unapologetically.